Wind River country, the winter of 1830. It is 20 below at first light. The wind has not quit in 3 days, and 2 men are breaking the same camp. By spring, only one of them walks back to the rendezvous. The one who lived was not stronger. He was not luckier. He knew about 11 small things the other man never learned, and every one of those things is sitting in the notes I'm about to read you. Here is the part the history books got backwards. Eastern society looked at men like that trapper and saw something filthy and half-wild, a backward relic. And when the beaver went out of fashion and the Hudson's Bay Company started undercutting American prices around 1834, the whole trade collapsed. The last great rendezvous was 1840. The mountain man got written off as a footnote. But pull the record forward 200 years. Nearly everything that old Trapper knew about staying alive in the cold is now printed almost word for word in United States Army cold weather field manuals and confirmed by university wilderness medicine departments. The men in the fine coats who laughed at him would have been the first ones found in the thaw. I'm Roy Hensley, 7th generation on a ridge in the southern mountains. My people came in the late 1700s and never had the good sense to leave. My grandfather raised me after my daddy passed, and he kept a leather book of things a man ought to know so they wouldn't die when he did. A good stretch of that book is cold weather work, and today it's yours. Do me one favor before we start. Tap subscribe, not for my sake. This channel exists to drag buried, useful knowledge back up into the daylight where it belongs, and there is a lot of it still down there. You'll want the next one. Now, I'm counting these down from 25 to 1, and I'll be straight with you about the shape of it. There are a few in here I want you watching for. There's one at number 19 that has killed more grown men in the cold than the cold itself, and almost everybody still believes the opposite. There's one at number 18 where the very thing you're standing knee-deep in will turn on you if you use it wrong. And there's number 1. Number 1 is the one no mountain man ever wrote down because it seemed too obvious to say, and it's the difference between the men who walked out and the men who didn't. Stay for it. Because the real question was never what we forgot. It's who came out ahead when we did, and how you take it back. Let's start at the top. Number 25, stay dry above everything else. This is the one every other secret bows to. Water pulls heat out of your body about 25 times faster than air of the same temperature. Get your clothes wet and the heat loss through them jumps roughly 5 times over dry. That's not a mountain man tall tale. That's physiology the National Weather Service repeats every winter. Hypothermia sets in once your core drops below 95 degrees, and it can happen at 40 degrees above zero if you're wet. A wet man at 40 is in more danger than a dry man at 10. Get that one thing, and you're already ahead of most folks with a closet full of gear. And it sets up the next one, because staying dry isn't only about rain. Number 24, shed a layer before you sweat. Add it back the second you stop. Your own sweat is the leak. Work too hard bundled up, soak your inside layer, then stop moving, and that damp turns to a cold rag against your skin, then to ice. The old hands strip down before hauling wood and dress back up the moment they set the axe down. Health departments today teach the very same rule under the word overexertion. Chopping, open your coat, resting, close it up fast. Next comes the mistake that kills people in their sleep. Number 23, insulate underneath you, not just around you. The frozen ground will draw the warmth straight out of your back through plain contact all night long, and no blanket on top makes up for bare earth below. The trappers laid down 4 to 6 inches of evergreen boughs, bark, or hide before they ever unrolled a robe. Every survival shelter guide written today says the same thing in plain print. Off the ground, or you don't sleep warm, which raises the question of what you put on your body. Number 22, loose, layered wool and fur, never one thick thing. The warmth isn't in the cloth, it's in the still air the cloth traps. Several loose layers hold more dead air than one tight, heavy coat, and wool does something cotton cannot. Wet wool still holds warmth. Wet cotton is a wet rag that pulls heat off you, which is why the old rule runs, cotton kills. Now here's a market note, and it's not a conspiracy, it's just how selling works. Nobody makes money teaching you to layer what's already in your drawer. There's real money in a new jacket every season, that's all it is. You didn't fail for buying the jacket. They're good at their job. Next, the parts of you that leak heat you never think about. Number 21. Cover the neck, the wrists, and the hands, not just the head. Warm blood runs close to the surface at your throat and your wrists, and bare skin there bleeds heat fast. A scarf at the neck and cuffs pulled over your wrists do more than most people expect. The Centers for Disease Control puts it simply: cover all exposed skin. Coming up, the fuel that makes all this insulation worth anything. Number 20. Eat fat and keep the calories coming. Insulation only holds the heat your body makes, and in the cold your body burns through fuel. The U.S. Army figures a soldier doing hard work in the cold needs about 4,500 calories a day. The Army's Research Institute puts extreme cold expenditure between 5,000 and 7,000, against 2,000 to 3,000 for an ordinary day. Fat is the densest fuel there is at 9 calories a gram, which is exactly why the mountain men prized bear grease, pemmican, and marrow. A modern granola bar is not your enemy here. Just eat, and eat often. There's convenience money in telling folks to eat light. There's none in telling them to render fat. Not a scheme, just markets. Now the one I warned you about. Number 19. Never ever drink alcohol to warm up. This is the belief that gets people killed while they feel just fine. A pull of whiskey makes your blood vessels open up and rush warm blood to your skin, so you feel a flush of heat. But that warmth is heat leaving your core and escaping through your skin, and your core temperature actually drops. Worse, alcohol dulls your shiver, which is your body's own furnace, and it fogs your judgment so you don't notice you're in trouble. That warm flask on a cold night is a liar. The liquor trade never had a reason to correct the folklore, and I won't pretend they did. Melt the snow for water instead, which brings me to the thing under your feet. Number 18. Melt snow before you drink it. Never eat it. Snow looks like free water. It's a trap. University of Utah Health's wilderness medicine people put real numbers on it. You'd have to eat about 8 to 10 quarts of snow to get 1 quart of water, and your body spends its own heat melting every mouthful. Eat snow in the cold, and you can lower your core temperature and dehydrate yourself at the same time. Melt it first and bring it to a boil to kill what's in it, because snow catches whatever's in the air and on the ground. There's a whole industry now built on selling you water. The mountain man's water fell out of the sky for free. He just knew to warm it first. Now, how to make heat with almost nothing. Let me stop us here for a second, because from number 17 on down, the stakes climb. Up to now, we've talked comfort. From here, it's the difference between a cold night and a last night. Number 17. A small fire against a reflector, not a big open blaze. A roaring open fire throws most of its heat straight up into the dark. The old way was a modest fire built against a rock face, a log wall, or a stacked reflector, so the radiant heat bounced back onto you. A small fire you can sit close to beats a bonfire every time, and it burns a fraction of the wood. One hard safety line: never build that fire inside a closed shelter or tent without real ventilation. A fire in a sealed space makes carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide kills quiet, with no smell and no warning. Next, where you put that fire matters as much as how you build it. Number 16. Camp out of the wind, with the fire's heat facing you. Wind is a thief. It strips the thin, warm layer of air right off your body and off your fire, and a stiff breeze will beat a bigger flame every time. The trapper's tucked into the lee of a ridge, a deadfall, or a thick stand of timber before they ever struck a spark. Break the wind first. It's worth more than another armload of wood. Now back to keeping yourself dry, the part people neglect the most. Number 15. Keep your feet dry and change into dry foot wraps at night. Feet sweat all day inside a boot, and damp wraps against the skin overnight is how you get frostbite and trench foot. The old hands carried a second set of dry wool wraps and put them on last thing before sleep, drying the day's pair by the fire. Wet feet at night is a wound waiting to happen, and if you're short on wool, nature stuffs the gap. Number 14. Stuff dry grass, moss, or leaves into your clothes and footwear. Dead air insulation for free. Trappers and soldiers both packed dry grass into loose moccasins and stuffed cattail down and dry moss between layers. It has to be bone dry to work. Damp packing does the opposite. It's the same principle as a goose down coat, only it grows wild and costs nothing. Next, a trick for stealing heat from the fire long after it's out. Number 13. Heat rocks by the fire and bury them under your bedding. Stones warmed at the fire's edge and wrapped in cloth or bark, then set beneath your sleeping layer, will give off gentle heat for hours after the flames die. It's the oldest bed warmer there is. But here's the safety line, and it's a real one. Use dry, solid stones. Never rocks pulled from a creek or riverbed, and never soft-layered rock like slate. Trapped moisture inside a heated stone can turn to steam and crack it open with force, and wrap them so you don't burn your skin or your bedroll. Handled right, it's the warmest gift you'll give yourself all night. Now, the thing that makes every fire skill useless if you get it wrong. This is another gear shift. From here down, every single one is a life or death piece. No more nice-to-haves. Number 12. Keep your tinder and fire kit bone dry against your own skin. A fire you cannot light is not a fire. The trappers carried their char cloth, dry tinder, and striker in a pouch worn inside their clothing against the body, where the warmth kept it dry and thawed. Your fire-making gear is the one thing that must never get wet or frozen. Guard it like your life, because on a bad night, it is your life. Next, a way to save heat with every breath you take. Number 11. Breathe through wool. In brutal cold, pull a wool scarf or a mask up over your nose and mouth and breathe through it. The wool warms and moistens the frigid air before it hits your lungs, and it cuts the moisture you lose with every exhale. It also keeps that razor-cold air from shocking your chest. A simple thing, and it costs you nothing you don't already own. Now, how to move without defeating yourself. Number 10. When you're idle in the cold, move gently. Never enough to sweat. A little motion keeps the blood going and the joints loose. Too much soaks your layers and puts you right back at number 25. Wet and losing heat 5 times faster. The old hands kept up what one of them called busy idleness, small, steady tasks, never a hard sweat. Easy and constant beats hard and damp. Next, the warmth 2 bodies make that one can't. Number 9. Share body heat. Sleep back to back. 2 or 3 people under shared cover, pressed together, hold heat far better than each one alone, because you cut the cold surface each body exposes. Trappers and soldiers have bedded down back to back in the worst of it for all of recorded history. There's no shame in it, and there's no substitute for it. If you're with people, share the heat. Now one the old-timers swore by, and where I owe you an honest word of caution. Number 8. Grease on the exposed skin against wind and cold. The old practice was a thin coat of animal fat or tallow on the cheeks and nose against windburn. Here's where I'll be honest with you the way my grandfather was honest with me. Modern wilderness medicine does not believe grease prevents frostbite, and heavy, oily coatings may even hold cold moisture against the skin and make things worse. So take this one as history, not gospel. For windburn on a blowy day, a light balm is fine. For real frostbite cold, the thing that actually works is covering the skin with dry cloth. I'd rather tell you the limit than sell you the legend. Next, the shelter that beats a tent. Number 7. A snow shelter holds heat far better than open air. This is the one I flagged at the start, and it sounds backward until you understand it. Packed snow is full of trapped air, and trapped air is insulation. A well-built snow shelter holds its inside temperature right around freezing, near 30 degrees, even when it's well below zero outside. A tight one, warmed only by the bodies inside it, can climb into the 50s. To build the simple kind, mound loose snow into a big pile, let it settle and harden for an hour or two, then hollow it out from a low door, leaving the walls about 2 feet thick. 2 hard safety rules. You must poke a ventilation hole through the top so you don't suffocate, and doubly so if you burn any candle or flame inside because of carbon monoxide. And insulate the floor with boughs before you lie down, or the snow pulls your heat straight out. Next, the warm thing that does 3 jobs at once. Before we get to the last handful, let me set the book down for 1 minute. There is far more of this than I can fit in one video. I gathered the whole of what my grandfather left me, and what I've added to it into a single book over on my site. It's the long version, the full thing laid out in order. It's there if you ever want it, and that's the last I'll say about it. Links below. Back to the ridge. Number 6. Drink warm broth, not just water. A cup of hot broth does 3 things at once. It warms your core from the inside, it hydrates you, and it feeds you a few calories, all in one. The trappers kept a pot going and drank the liquor off boiled meat and bones. Warm liquid inside you is worth more on a cold night than the same water cold. Simple, cheap, and nobody profits from telling you to save your bones. Next, why what you do at bedtime decides how the night goes. Number 5. Go to sleep well fed. When you eat before bed, your body generates real heat digesting that food through the night. Go to sleep hungry in the cold, and your furnace runs low right when you need it most, in the small, dark hours before dawn when the temperature bottoms out. The old hands ate their biggest meal at night in winter for exactly this reason. A fed body makes heat while you sleep. Next, the nightly chore that saves your feet and hands. Number 4. Dry your gear and your boots by the fire every single night. Every day your boots, gloves, and outer layers soak up sweat and snow. Go to bed without drying them and you pull on cold, stiff, damp gear in the morning, and you're behind before the sun's up. The trappers dried everything by the fire's edge each night without fail. Not too close, or you'll scorch leather and crack it. It's a chore. Do it anyway. Next, the watch that catches trouble before it's too late. Number 3. Watch each other for the early signs of frostbite. Frostbite fools you because the frozen part goes numb, so the person it's happening to often can't feel it and can't see it. That's why you watch each other. The Centers for Disease Control says the first warnings are redness and pain in the skin, then it turns pale, white, or waxy and cold to the touch. Catch it at the red and stinging stage and get warm and you're fine. 2 things the Red Cross is firm about. Do not rub a frostbitten area and never rub it with snow because you'll tear the frozen tissue. And warm the core of the body first, the chest and belly, before the hands and feet. In a group, everybody's eyes belong on everybody else. Next, the small choice that keeps your fingers. Number 2, mittens over liners, not gloves with separated fingers. Fingers packed together in a mitten share their heat and expose far less surface to the cold than fingers split apart in a glove. The warmest setup is a thin liner inside a mitten, so you can slip the mitten off for quick work and never bare your skin to the wind. Gloves look handier. Mittens keep the fingers you'll need to strike your next fire. And now the one I told you to wait for. Number 1, rest. A body worn to exhaustion cannot keep itself warm. This is the piece no trapper bothered to write down, because to him it was the ground everything else stood on. Making heat is work, And your body does that work with the same reserve it uses to walk, to lift, to think. Run yourself to the bone, and there's nothing left to burn for warmth. That's the quiet way the cold takes strong men, not in a storm. In the slow grind of pushing too hard, too long, until the furnace simply has no more fuel. The men who walked out in spring were not the toughest. They were the ones who knew when to stop, get out of the wind, get dry, get fed, and rest, so the body could do its one job through the night. And that, right there, is the whole thing every one of these 25 was pointing at. Not toughness, not gear, knowing. A man who understands the cold and works with it needs almost nothing to survive it. That's not survival. That's a kind of freedom. The same freedom that let a man live a whole winter in the mountains with a knife, a fire kit, and what he carried in his head. Nobody could sell him warmth, because he already owned the knowledge of how to make it. That's the thing they really lost when we forgot all this. Not a skill, a standing on your own 2 feet. None of this is on you for not knowing. It was taken out of the school books a long time ago, and there was never any money in teaching a man to need less. But it's not gone. It's right here, and now it's yours. So don't go trying all 25 this weekend. Pick one. This Saturday, spend nothing and lay 4 to 6 inches of boughs or cardboard on a cold garage floor and sit on it. Then sit on the bare floor and feel the difference for yourself. Next cold snap, before you go out, put a scarf at your throat and pull your cuffs down over your wrists and notice how much longer you last. And the next time you're chilled, skip the drink and heat a cup of broth instead. One small thing. That's how it comes back. Now I want to hear from you. What did your grandmother or your grandfather do to stay warm when the power was nothing they counted on? The rock in the bed, the wool under the coat, the trick nobody writes down. Tell me in the comments, and tell me your part of the country while you're at it. Whatever gets the most folks talking, that's the one I'll take apart in full next time. And speaking of next time, I've got one coming on the old ways to heat a room with next to nothing. The way the mountain cabins held warmth through a whole winter on one small stove and a few forgotten habits. You won't want to miss that. While you're here, there's likely another one already waiting for you on your screen, something the good folks at this platform figured you'd take to. Go on and give it a look. I think you'll be glad you did.